You ever get that gut-wrenching feeling when something feels off in your relationship, but you can't put your finger on it? That's not paranoia. It's your instinct screaming at you. And here's the part no one likes to admit. When women cheat, especially with someone close to you, they rarely confess. Instead, they drop subtle verbal cues, little sentences that sound innocent on the surface, but carry a deeper, darker meaning. These cues aren't accidents. They're defense mechanisms, a way of testing how much you know, how much they can get away with. The truth is, most men miss them because they're blinded by trust, routine, or the fear of facing reality. But today, I'm going to reveal to you what no one has ever broken down so clearly. The exact words and patterns that signal she's not only betraying you, but doing it with someone within your circle. Think about this. Betrayal from a stranger hurts, but betrayal from someone you know shatters your soul. It rewires the way you see love, trust, even brotherhood. And yet, countless men walk straight into that storm without realizing the signs were right there falling from her lips like poison wrapped in honey. You see, female psychology is layered. Women don't usually say things directly when they're hiding something. Instead, they project, they deflect, and they disguise. She might phrase it as a joke, a complaint, or even as casual conversation. But if you don't decode it, you're setting yourself up for the most devastating kind of heartbreak. This isn't about turning you into a paranoid detective. It's about arming you with awareness, about protecting your sanity and your self-respect. Because once you hear these words, you'll never unhear them again. And when you do, you'll see through the mask she's wearing. You'll realize that every laugh, every excuse, every harmless sentence has a hidden truth you were never supposed to notice. That truth is what separates men who get blindsided from men who walk away with clarity and strength. The kind of man who isn't easily deceived. The kind of man women think twice about betraying. So, lean in, pay attention, and don't brush this off. What I'm about to share may just save you from a lifetime of lies and from trusting someone who's already handing your love to another man you thought was a friend. One of the first red flags that often slips under a man's radar comes disguised as an attack on your awareness. She'll say something like, "You're overthinking, you're too paranoid. Not everything is about cheating." Now, on the surface, it sounds like she's simply frustrated, maybe even tired of constant suspicion. But here's the psychological truth. When someone is guilty, they tend to deflect by accusing you of being irrational. It's a reversal tactic. Instead of addressing the possibility of betrayal, she flips the spotlight onto your character, making you doubt your instincts. This isn't just coincidence, it's manipulation rooted in self-preservation. If she can make you second-guess your gut, she buys herself more time to continue what she's doing. And notice the tone. It won't be gentle. It'll often be sharp, dismissive, sometimes even laced with laughter, as if your pain is a joke. But it doesn't stop there. When the betrayal involves someone you know, maybe a close friend, a colleague, or even a mutual acquaintance, she often tries to normalize his presence in conversations. She'll casually mention him more often than usual, almost planting him into your everyday reality. You'll hear lines like, "Oh, he's just so funny, he's easy to talk to," or "Don't be insecure, he's just like a brother." Pay attention to how often his name slips in and how quickly she defends him. That over-defensiveness is not protection of him, it's protection of his secret they're hiding. Here's the bitter truth. Women who cheat with someone close don't want you to suspect a stranger. They want to normalize the presence of that man so deeply in your world that you stop questioning it. Think about it. When a name gets repeated enough, it begins to feel harmless. That's the trick. Your guard drops, and meanwhile the betrayal unfolds right under your nose. And I'll tell you this with complete honesty. Most men only realize these signs when it's too late, when the evidence is undeniable, when trust is already dead. But if you sharpen your perception now, if you train yourself to decode her words, you won't be blindsided. You'll be prepared. You'll be the man who recognizes that sometimes the truth doesn't come in confessions, it comes in slips of the tongue. Another phrase you need to pay close attention to is when she suddenly starts saying, "You should spend more time with your friends," or "You don't always have to be around me." Now, at first it sounds like independence, right? Like she's encouraging you to have your own life, your own circle. But when it comes out of nowhere, when it's not something she's ever emphasized before, it's often not about your freedom. It's about creating space for her. If the man she's involved with is someone you know, this phrase takes on an even darker meaning, because every time she pushes you toward your friends, she's silently clearing the path to be closer to one of them without raising suspicion. Think about the psychology behind it. Guilt doesn't just make people hide, it makes them orchestrate. She wants to control your schedule, your social energy, your patterns, and so she frames it as if she's being selfless, as if she cares about your independence. But in reality, she's buying herself privacy to send that text, to arrange that meeting, to answer a call she doesn't want you to overhear. And the cruelest part, she makes you believe she's doing it for you. So you feel guilty even questioning it. This is where many men fail themselves. They mistake her sudden generosity for maturity. They think, "Wow, she's so understanding. She wants me to live my life." But here's the truth. Consistency is everything in psychology. If she never cared before about how much time you spent with your friends, but suddenly she insists on it, that shift is a clue. Women don't randomly change their patterns without reason. There's always a driver, and when that driver is secrecy, it shows up in these subtle, dismissible lines. I know it's painful to even imagine that the person who promised loyalty might be using words as weapons, shaping your behavior to cover her tracks. But facing this possibility now will save you from deeper pain later. Because when you hear her voice encouraging you to step away, ask yourself this: is she truly giving me freedom, or is she building her own? That one question might expose a truth you were never meant to see. Now, pay attention to the moments when she starts saying things like, "I don't know why you care so much," or "Why are you so obsessed with me?" At first glance, it seems like irritation, a petty complaint about your attention. But in reality, this is one of the most dangerous phrases a cheating woman can use, and especially telling when the betrayal involves someone you know. It's guilt disguised as contempt. She's not just trying to dismiss your concern, she's trying to make you feel small for even noticing, because the more guilty she feels, the more aggressively she'll attempt to turn your attention inward, to make you question your own instincts, to make you feel like you're the problem. Here's the raw truth. The moment she frames your natural suspicion as obsession, she's doing two things. First, she's deflecting the emotional weight from herself. Second, she's subtly asserting control over your perception. She wants you doubting yourself, second-guessing every signal your mind is screaming at you. And what's it? The betrayal is with someone you know, someone in your immediate circle. This tactic is magnified because if she can make you hesitate, she can continue the connection without immediate consequence. You begin to feel irrational, insecure, even paranoid, when in reality your intuition is screaming. And notice the tone and timing. It's often delivered after you ask a pointed question, after you notice a small inconsistency, or after you confront her indirectly. That's not accidental. Women who cheat with someone close to you have learned to weaponize guilt and defensiveness. They know when to strike psychologically, when to make you doubt yourself, and when to act casual so you buy into the lie. You think it's normal frustration, but it's manipulation honed to perfection. This is why men often find themselves trapped, replaying conversations in their minds, thinking, maybe I really am too controlling, too suspicious. No, you're not. Your instincts are alive. They're warning you. And the key difference between men who get blindsided and men who see the truth is learning to trust those instincts even when everything around you is gaslighting you into submission. So when she delivers these lines with a casual smirk or a tired sigh, recognize the pattern. This is not about you being paranoid. It's about her covering her tracks, testing boundaries, and controlling the narrative. That subtle contempt is the emotional fingerprint of betrayal, and it's something no rational argument will erase. It's raw and it's real. Now, let's talk about the most revealing slip, the phrase that almost every man misses, but that signals she's cheating with someone you know. It usually sounds innocent, casual even, like, "Oh, he's just helping me with that," or "He always knows how to make me laugh." On the surface, it seems harmless, friendly, maybe even complimentary. But the truth is, these seemingly benign comments carry a weight most men fail to notice until it's too late. When a woman repeatedly emphasizes another man's role in her life, especially someone you both key, now she's subtly conditioning your perception. She's planting the idea that he's normal, that he's acceptable, and that your suspicion is unjustified. Pay close attention to repetition. One casual mention can be brushed off as coincidence, but when you hear the same name over and over in different contexts, in laughter, in stories, in passing remarks, it's no longer casual, it's deliberate. Your mind starts to dismiss it as normal. Your emotional guard drops, and the betrayal takes root without a single direct confession. Female psychology is complex, but it is consistent. When a woman wants to protect a secret, she hides it behind normalization, humor, and casual reinforcement. The more she mentions him, the less alarming it feels, even if deep down your instincts scream otherwise. Another key factor is the framing of her admiration. If she talks about him in ways that imply emotional intimacy, someone who understands her, gets her, or is always there for her, that's not friendship. That's emotional cheating, a precursor to physical betrayal, especially when coupled with secrecy. Most men dismiss this as nothing, but emotional bonds are the invisible chains that lead to action. And if the man she's speaking about is in your circle, the risk escalates exponentially because she's testing boundaries, assessing what you'll tolerate, and shaping your perception to prevent suspicion. Here's the painful truth. This pattern is subtle, slow, and strategic. It's a mental game that plays on your trust, your patience, and your love. Most men never catch it until the damage is done. But if you train yourself to recognize these verbal cues, to notice the repetition, the framing, the emotional weight she places on another man, then you see the truth before it's too late. Awareness is your only defense. Clarity, your only weapon. By now you can probably feel it. The tension, the oneus. Ace, the subtle alarm in your gut. All the phrases we've uncovered, all the verbal cues lead to one undeniable truth. When she cheats with someone you know, the warning signs are in her words long, before the evidence becomes visible. The final pattern to recognize is what I call the casual omission. She stops telling you things she used to share. She avoids details, and she subtly edits reality when discussing her day. She'll say things like, "I was just out with some friends," without naming him, or "nothing happened," with that small fleeting hesitation. That pause, that tiny crack in her narrative, is far more revealing than any argument or confrontation could ever be. Your mind notices it even if your heart refuses to. Here's the cruel psychology behind it. By withholding and controlling information, she tests your trust while maintaining the illusion of innocence. It's a layered game designed to keep you unaware while simultaneously strengthening her secret bond with him. She relies on your habitual trust in routine, in what you've been told before, and in the assumption that people behave consistently. And that's why so many men fail. They are emotionally invested, blinded by love, and caught in the false security of their own expectations. But here's the empowering truth. Recognizing these patterns gives you power. When you understand the verbal slips, the deflections, the casual emissions, you no longer feel helpless. You start seeing the reality clearly without the filter of denial. You begin to reclaim your control, your emotional independence, and your self-respect. Because once you notice the subtle cues, you no longer have to wait for confirmation. You see the betrayal for what it is, and you can act before it consumes your peace of mind. So, I want you to do something right now. Reflect on the last conversation you had with her. Think about the sentences that made your gut tighten, the moments that didn't sit right, the words you dismissed as harmless. Here's your challenge. Calculate the ratio of moments you felt uneasy versus moments you brushed off. Write that number in the comments. It's your personal truth, your clarity. If this resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear this before it's too late. Awareness is the first step, and knowledge is the weapon every man deserves in the game of trust, love, and survival.